Elvis Presley stood alone in his mother's old bedroom at Graceland, tears streaming down his face as he held a stack of yellowed letters he was never meant to find. The date was April 1968, 6 months after Gladys's death, and the words on those pages would reveal a secret that explained everything: why she loved him so fiercely, why she feared losing him every single day, and why she made him promise things that seemed strange at the time. What he discovered in those letters would haunt him for the rest of his life, but it would also help him finally understand the woman who shaped everything he became. The renovation crew had started work that morning. Elvis had finally agreed to update some of Graceland's older rooms, though he'd insisted his mother's bedroom remain mostly untouched. It was Charlie Hodge who noticed it first, a loose panel behind where the headboard used to stand. "Elvis, you might want to see this," Charlie called out, his voice carrying that careful tone people use when they're not sure if they're about to cause trouble. Elvis walked over, his heart already beating faster. Something about the way Charlie stepped back, the look on his face, told him this wasn't just about old wiring or hidden plumbing. Behind the panel was a small space, barely bigger than a shoebox. Inside sat a metal tin, the kind his mama used to keep sewing supplies in. But when Elvis lifted it out, he could feel something heavier inside. Papers, letters, and a small diary with his mother's handwriting on the cover. "Leave me alone for a while," Elvis said quietly. Charlie nodded and ushered the workers out. The door closed with a soft click that seemed to echo in the sudden silence. Elvis sat on the floor, his back against the wall where his mother used to sleep. His hands trembled as he opened the tin. The smell hit him first, that particular scent of old paper and faded perfume that instantly transported him back to childhood. And then he saw the dates on the letters: 1933, 1934, 1935, years before he was born. The first letter was addressed to "My dearest girl" and signed by someone named James. Elvis's brow furrowed. He'd never heard his mother mention anyone named James. He began to read. "My dearest girl, I know what we have is impossible. You're married now, and I respect that, but I can't stop thinking about what we had that summer. You were the only person who ever really saw me, Gladys, the only one who understood." Elvis's stomach tightened. His mother had a relationship before his father? Or, the dates suggested, during her marriage to Vernon? He kept reading, letter after letter, piecing together a story his mother had never told him. James was a musician, it turned out, a guitar player who'd come through Tupelo in the summer of 1933, performing at local gatherings and church socials. He was traveling through, planning to head to Memphis to try his luck in the music scene there. And Gladys, already married to Vernon, but lonely, working hard to keep food on the table while Vernon struggled to find steady work, had fallen for him. The letters painted a picture of a brief, intense relationship, secret meetings, stolen moments, and a connection based on something Gladys had never had with Vernon, a shared love of music. James would play guitar and sing, and Gladys would harmonize with him. In the letters, he told her she had the most beautiful voice he'd ever heard, that she should be performing, that she had a gift. "You're wasting your light in this little town. Come with me to Memphis. We'll make music together. We'll be something special." But Gladys had written back. Elvis found carbon copies of her responses, made on an old typewriter, explaining that she couldn't leave. She had responsibilities, a husband, a life, even if it wasn't the one she'd dreamed of. And then, in September 1934, she'd written the final letter.
"James, I can't see you anymore. What we had was beautiful, but it's over. I'm pregnant, and I need to focus on my family now. Please don't write again. Please let me do the right thing. I'll always remember our summer, but it has to stay in the past. G." His hands shook so hard he almost dropped the paper. Pregnant? His mother had been pregnant in 1934, but he wasn't born until 1935. And then he remembered what his parents had always told him, that he'd been a twin, Jesse Guerin, the brother who died at birth. He reached for the diary, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. The entries started in late 1934, his mother's handwriting, younger and more careful than he remembered it. November 15, 1934. I'm showing now. Vernon is happy about the baby, but I can see the worry in his eyes. Money is so tight. I'm scared about how we'll manage. I'm scared about a lot of things. I dream about James's music every night. I wake up humming the songs we used to sing together. December 20th, 1934. The doctor says it might be twins. I'm terrified and thrilled at the same time. Vernon works so hard, but we barely have enough for one baby. How will we manage two? But maybe, if God gives me two sons, one of them will have music in his soul. Maybe one of them will do all the things I never got to do. Elvis's vision blurred with tears. His mother had given up her own dreams, her own potential, and poured all of it into him. But why him specifically? Why had she always treated him like he was destined for something special? He kept reading through the pregnancy entries, through the account of the difficult birth in a 2-room house in Tubalo, and then he found the entry that made everything stop. January 8th, 1935. Jesse Guerin was born at 4 a.m. He died before he took his first breath. Elvis Aaron came at 4:35 a.m., screaming loud enough to wake the county. The preacher told me that sometimes God takes one angel to heaven so the other can have twice the spirit. I don't know if I believe that, but when I hold Elvis, I feel like I'm holding all my dreams, all my hopes, everything I ever wanted to be. I look at his little face and I think, you're going to be the one. You're going to do all the things I couldn't do. You're going to make music that matters. I don't know how I know this, but I do. God took Jesse to give you his strength. Don't ever forget that, my beautiful boy. Elvis sobbed. Great heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep in his chest. This is why his mother had been so protective. This is why she'd encouraged his music so fiercely. This is why she'd always told him he was special, destined for greatness. She'd lost a child, given up her own dreams, and poured everything, all of it, into him. But there was more in the diary. Entries from years later, after Elvis had started to get famous. His mother had continued writing, processing her feelings about watching her son become a star. June 1954. Elvis came home today with a record he made. It's called That's All Right. When I heard his voice coming through the radio, I cried. Not because I'm proud, though Lord knows I am, but because I heard something in his voice. A loneness, a yearning. The same thing I used to hear in my own voice when I'd sing with James. Elvis has my gift, but he also has my pain. The pain of wanting something you can't have. The pain of feeling like you don't quite fit anywhere. I worry where this talent will take him. I worry he'll end up as lonely as I've been. Elvis pressed the diary to his chest. His mother had understood him in ways he'd never fully appreciated. She knew exactly what the music meant to him because it had meant the same thing to her. It wasn't just about fame or success. It was about expressing something too big for words, about finding connection in a world that often felt isolating.
The later entries became more worried. March 1956. Elvis is getting so famous so fast. Girls scream when they see him. Men want to fight him or be him. I watch him on television and I barely recognize my boy. He looks tired, even when he's smiling. He looks like he's searching for something he can't find. I should have told him about James. I should have explained that the music is a gift, but it's also a burden. It makes you feel everything more deeply, the joy, but also the pain. I wanted to protect him from that knowledge. Now I think maybe I was wrong. July 1957. Elvis bought me this big house. Graceland, he calls it. It's beautiful, but it feels empty. I rattle around in these big rooms and I miss our little house in Tupelo, where I could hear Elvis breathing in the next room, where I could make sure he was safe. He's touring all the time now. When he calls, I can hear the exhaustion in his voice, the loneliness. I tell him I'm proud of him, and I am, but what I really want to say is, come home, baby, rest. Remember that you're more than just the music. You're my son, and you deserve peace. Elvis couldn't read anymore. He closed the diary and sat in the silence of his mother's room, surrounded by her hidden secrets. She'd carried this weight alone, the memory of a lost love, the death of a twin son, the fear that she'd pushed her surviving child toward a destiny that would consume him. And she'd been right to worry. Since her death, Elvis had felt unmoored, lost. He'd thrown himself into movies and music and anything that would distract him from the grief. But nothing worked. Nothing filled the space she'd left. Now, reading her words, he understood something crucial. His mother hadn't just been protective or proud, she'd been terrified. Terrified that the gift she'd given him, the encouragement, the belief in his specialness, would take him away from her. And in a way it had. The fame had created a distance between him and ordinary life, between him and real connection, just like his mother had experienced with her lost dreams and secret heartbreak. Elvis picked up one more letter from the tin. This one was different, newer, written on Graceland stationery. It was dated August 10th, 1957, just a few days before his mother died. It was addressed to him. My dearest Elvis, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I hope you found these letters in this diary because I want you to understand some things I could never say to your face. I loved your daddy, but there was a part of me that always belonged to music, to dreams I had before life got practical. When you came along, my miracle baby, my survivor, I put all those dreams into you. Maybe that was fair, maybe it wasn't, but I want you to know, you don't owe me anything. You never did. The music is yours. The life is yours. Whatever you do with it, wherever it takes you, I'm proud. But more than that, I want you to be happy, really happy, not just successful. Don't let the music consume you the way my lost dreams consumed me. Don't let it make you lonely. Find someone who sees you, really sees you the way James saw me that summer, the way I always saw you. You're more than the voice, baby. You're more than the songs. You're my son, and you're enough just as you are. Remember that when the world gets too loud. Remember that someone loved you for exactly who you were, not what you could do or how you could sing. I'll be watching over you always. Make your music, make your life, but most of all, make your peace. Love, Mama. Elvis picked up one more letter from the tin. This one was different, newer, written on Graceland stationery. It was dated August 10th, 1957, just a few days before his mother died. It was addressed to him. My dearest Elvis, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I hope you found these letters in this diary because I want you to understand some things I could never say to your face. I loved your daddy, but there was a part of me that always belonged to music, to dreams I had before life got practical. When you came along, my miracle baby, my survivor, I put all those dreams into you. Maybe that was fair, maybe it wasn't, but I want you to know, you don't owe me anything. You never did. The music is yours. The life is yours. Whatever you do with it, wherever it takes you, I'm proud. But more than that, I want you to be happy, really happy, not just successful. Don't let the music consume you the way my lost dreams consumed me. Don't let it make you lonely. Find someone who sees you, really sees you, the way James saw me that summer, the way I always saw you. You're more than the voice, baby. You're more than the songs. You're my son, and you're enough just as you are. Remember that when the world gets too loud. Remember that someone loved you for exactly who you were, not what you could do or how you could sing. I'll be watching over you always. Make your music, make your life, but most of all, make your peace. Love, Mama. Elvis folded the letter carefully and put it back in the tin with the others. He sat for a long time, crying quietly, feeling like he'd just had one final conversation with his mother, the conversation they'd never had time for before she died. When he finally stood up, his legs stiff from sitting on the floor, he knew what he had to do. He'd keep these letters private, sacred. They were his mother's truth and his, but he'd also try to honor what she'd asked of him in that final letter. He'd stop running from the grief. He'd stop hiding in the work, in the fame. He'd try to find real connection, real peace. That night, Elvis called a meeting with his close friends, the guys who'd stuck with him through everything. Charlie, Red, Sonny, Jerry. They gathered in the living room at Graceland, confused about the late-night summons. "I want to tell you about my mother," Elvis said quietly. "The real story, not just the public version." And for the first time, he shared his feelings openly. He talked about the letters, about his mother's lost dreams, about the weight of being the surviving twin, the chosen one, the vessel for all her hopes. He talked about feeling lonely even in a room full of people, about wondering if anyone really knew him or just knew Elvis Presley, the star. His friends listened, really listened, and when he finished, Red spoke up. "We see you, E. Not the guy on the posters. You. And we're here." It was a small moment, not particularly dramatic, but it was real. And that night, Elvis felt something he hadn't felt since his mother died. The possibility of being known, of being understood, of being enough, just as he was. The letters stayed hidden in their tin, tucked away in a private place, but their impact was profound. Elvis started making different choices. He pulled back from some of the more exploitative movie deals. He spent more time at Graceland, really living there instead of just passing through. He started talking more openly with the people close to him about what he was feeling, instead of hiding behind the performer's mask. And when he recorded music, he thought about his mother's words. "You have my gift, but also my pain." He channeled that pain into songs that mattered, songs with real emotion. The '68 comeback special, which came later that year, was infused with this new understanding of himself. When he sat on that stage in black leather, singing his heart out, he wasn't performing for anyone else. He was making the music his mother had never gotten to make. He was honoring her lost dreams by living his own truth. Years later, when people asked Elvis about his mother, he'd get that faraway look in his eyes. "She understood me better than anyone," he'd say, "even better than I understood myself for a long time." He never told anyone about the letters. That was between him and Gladys. But he carried the lessons from them every day. That talent comes with loneliness, that dreams have costs, that being seen and understood is more valuable than being famous. His mother had learned these lessons through her own sacrifices. Elvis learned them through her words, written in secret and hidden away for him to find when he most needed them. On quiet nights at Graceland, Elvis would sometimes go to his mother's room and sit in the same spot where he'd read those letters. He'd close his eyes and try to feel her presence, and sometimes, when the house was very still, he could almost hear her voice singing harmony to his melody, the way she used to when he was a boy, the way she dreamed of doing with James all those years ago, the way the music connected them across time, across loss, across everything that separated the living from the dead. The hidden letters had revealed a devastating truth, that his mother had given up everything for him, that his survival had cost his twin brother's life, that every success he achieved was built on someone else's sacrifice. But they'd also revealed something more hopeful, that love transcends dreams, that being known is more important than being celebrated, and that sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give is permission to be imperfect, to be human, to be enough. Elvis Presley never stopped missing his mother, but after finding those letters, he stopped feeling quite so lost. She'd left him a map, written in her own hand, showing him how to navigate the loneliness that came with the gift. And in her final message, she'd given him permission to be more than the music, more than the legend, more than the dreams she'd once poured into him. He was Elvis, her son, and that had always been enough.